If you are thinking about moving to Wellington, Florida, this is a video for you. Wellington is quite a unique town. It is the winter equestrian capital of the world. People know it for that, but there's so much more involved. This week, we're going to look at all that Wellington has to offer and what it's like living here in Wellington, Florida. Stick around. We're going to be all over Wellington today. We're going to be at the Patriot Memorial, the 9/11 tribute. We're going to be at the Wellington Green Mall. We're going to look at the newest plot of land that they're currently looking to build on called K Park. We're going to look at the amphitheater. We are going to discuss all the different communities that I think you should consider, all the gated communities. We're going to look at communities like Oakmont, Castellina, just to name a couple. And we're going to talk about this one. This is one of the nicest communities of all of Wellington. If you want to know what it is, stick around. My name is Ray Fernandez. I'm with Living in Palm Beach, Florida, powered by eXp Luxury Homes. Welcome. Later, I'm going to show you where we are on the map here, but from a location standpoint, in Palm Beach, Florida, you cannot beat it. It is considered, many people say, well, let's go look at the Western communities. This is the #1 Western community. What that means, it's in the western part of the county. We are directly west of the largest city in Palm Beach called West Palm Beach. Lots of times people that live here in Wellington go to downtown West Palm Beach for the events because it is, after all, Wellington, just a village. So not everything's there here. Everything is here. But this is known a bit for more of a family suburban lifestyle. If you're used to a suburban lifestyle, and if that's the type of environment you want, this is a place I would consider. Down that way are two big master plan communities. One of them is called Westlake. You might have heard of it. We've covered that many times before. Also, Arden is down that way. But let's get started and explore to see what we have here in Wellington, Florida. So if you are a horse person, if you're an equestrian person, if you like the sport of polo, you know Wellington. Wellington is considered the winter equestrian capital of the world. It is an affluent area. In terms of home prices, let me go right there, right off the bat. In terms of home prices around Palm Beach County, the median price of a home is about $620,000. It's going to be higher here in Wellington, Florida, especially if you're in one of those gated communities we're going to tell you a little bit about later. But people around here, like in the winter time where we just started winter here now, they come here for the polo. Down there are polo matches. If you know, I'm guessing you know what the sport of polo is about. If you're an equestrian, that's those kind of people know. Some very high-end, high net worth people like the Bill Gateses, the Bruce Springsteens, the John Travoltas, they have homes over there, primarily because their daughters are horseback riders. Anyways, they have some really nice estates. There's a big difference between living in Old Wellington and living in New Wellington. We're going to review that. One of the nicest things about this community is that it's close to downtown West Palm Beach. So let's go over some of the pros and some of the cons when it comes to living here in Wellington. So I just ran into Santa over there here in the Wellington Green Mall. As far as malls go, this is a nice one. It might not be the nicest in Palm Beach County, might not be the nicest in Florida, but I'll tell you why. Probably the nicest mall. Me here living in Palm Beach, Florida, I always like to give you the pros and cons, and I live in Realville, and I want to be up front with you. The nicest mall, in my opinion, in Palm Beach is Palm Beach Gardens. It's called the Gardens Mall. High-end stores are in there. Here they have nice stuff. They have Nordstrom's and stuff, but they think they have more like Gucci level when you go to the Gardens Mall. So there's also within Palm Beach, there's the Boynton Mall. There's down in Boca, there's something called the Town Center. Boca Town Center, that's also pretty popular. That's also really high-end. If you're looking for something really high-end, generally speaking, the two places you're going to go to are the Gardens Mall or the Boca Town Center Mall. This is a good local mall. K Park is over there, and I'm going to take you there. I'm going to go there next, I think. That's going to be like one of the newest things that they have in here in Wellington. So one of the pros when it comes to living here in Wellington, Florida, is they're always redoing this place. There's always something exciting, and Wellington is always evolving. So this is part of what I call the newer part of Wellington. The old, way back when, like going pre-year 2000, there was just the equestrians, and they're out further west. The pieces of property are out there are bigger. Also, there are a lot of non-HOA properties out there. HOA means Homeowners Association, and we'll talk a little bit more about that when we go over to K Park. 18 years ago, my family and I relocated to this beautiful part of the world we call sunny South Florida, and we haven't looked back. Today, we truly find honor to help people perhaps like you do the exact same thing. So if you're thinking about moving to anywhere here in the South Florida area, and you want help from people who have actually done it before, there's two ways to get a hold of us. Down below is our email address. That's one great way. Also on the screen, you see our phone number. You can either call or text that number. But literally two of the best ways is in the description and the comment section. There's a link. Click on that link. What that'll do is have some time for us to speak, either through a phone call or through a Zoom, whatever way you feel most comfortable. In any case, we have your back when it comes to relocating here to sunny South Florida. All right, I'm in the area which they call K Park today. As you can see, it's a whole bunch of nothing back there. This land has been under dispute now for at least 10 years. What should we do with it? It's the last untouched, you can see, get more of it. It's the last untouched piece of property in Wellington. It's several acres. Down there are some of the gated communities I was referring to earlier. But between here, this is the church. This is Life Church, and then back there, all the way to Oakmont, which is one of the communities I was talking about. We'll tell you a little bit more about that in a minute, or a little bit later. That's how deep it goes. They're going to build restaurants. They're going to build housing here. They're going to build a park here. There's been conversations as to what it should be. Some of the polo people want just to keep it green and a bunch of nothing. Which I think that proposal is losing from what it sounds like, which I'm happy for, because it's in the middle of Wellington. We are literally smack in the middle of Wellington, near one of the main roads, State Road 7, Route 441, and there's so much use. There's so much that can be used for. They're going to build a private school here, K through 12, I'm told. All this is still in the works. I had to, because I'm in real estate, and I know the developers well. They reached out to me and wanted me to know about their plan. I live right down the way. I'm a board association member here in one of the communities, and so they wanted to get our buy-in, and we're still working that through. But I mentioned before something, but enough of that for now. If you want to know more about K Park, reach out to our team. By the time this video shows, they'll probably have a decision exactly what's going to go here. And in 2 years, this place is not going to look anything remote to what it does today. So I mentioned the homeowners associations. So like most of Florida is homeowners associations, especially South Florida. 85% in my guesstimate, that's just my guess. In Wellington, almost all the eastern part, which is we're east right now, all the eastern communities, gated communities, have homeowners associations. You pay a fee to an organization called the Homeowners Board of Directors. They elect board of directors, and they decide on things such as the fees, and they manage the community. There are people that hate HOA. Leave a comment below. Are you one of those people that hate HOAs? Yeah, I find people either love it or hate it. Very few people are in the middle. I've sort of like, I can see both sides, but in my opinion, I think their associations bring more value than destroy value. I'd prefer one. They do things like, if your neighbor wants to keep like a pet alligator in the front yard, they won't let you do it. If you don't have a homeowners association, you have less recourse on lots of stuff. If your neighbor wants to paint their house purple, half pink, can't do that in an association. So they have sort of standards like that. It does come with money, and one of the big complaints sometimes people make are, I don't want people telling me what to do. Well, there are some, not HOA, all HOAs are created equal. Some are better than others. If you're looking at a particular community here in Wellington or anywhere in South Florida, and you want to see if I can give you some insight as to what I know about this community, that community, reach out. I will help you. So there's a property manager, like we in my community down the street there. We have a property manager that runs a lot of them down here. My property manager, I use them for everything. I get insights. One of the benefits about I'm on the board of directors, I'm the president, and one of the things about being in that position, I have access to resource that is ridiculous. I know this neighborhood very well, and what ends up happening, if I need to know what's going on in each communities, I do. They'll know, because that property association manages properties of several communities. If you want to know what vendors are good for rebuilding a commercial pool, I can give you insight on that. Renovations, like clubhouse renovations, we're doing that right now. We work together as a group to do that. So it gives us a lot of insight. It helps me know what's going on. If you're a non-HOA person, I understand. That's that way. Western part of Wellington is more of the 9 HOA properties. They literally have horses in the backyard, because it's such a equestrian community. I see a lot of, when I used to take my son to daycare way back when, they used to have to take him through this road called Pearson Road, and you would see backyards with people with horses in the back. One of the pros when it comes to living here in Wellington, Florida, is there's a ton of shopping, and this place is always evolving. It might always revolve around the winter crowd of the polo and the equestrians, but the truth is, shopping-wise, there's a lot. Down there is the Wellington Green Mall. It is a center hub. The timing of the opening of that mall was not exactly great. It opened the week after 9/11, and obviously did not get off to a great start, because that was the beginning of one of the many recessions our country has had over the years. Down there is State Road 7 or Route 441. All up and down that road are restaurants and shopping and all that kind of stuff. So there's a lot of things to do here shopping-wise. It's not going to be a big nightlife, that I'll tell you. They do have an amphitheater. We'll check that out too, where they have events, and that's all great. But if you're the type of guy that goes out at 10 o'clock like they do in Manhattan and party all night, then Wellington is not for you. So that's one of the cons when it comes to living here in Wellington, Florida. In terms of having an active nightlife, you're not going to find it here in Wellington. When people do, the people that live in Wellington and they want something to do actively at night, or go to a late night restaurant, they will go to downtown West Palm Beach. West Palm Beach is approximately a half hour, depending on traffic. There's a ton to do there. West Palm Beach is 125,000 people. It's the biggest city in Palm Beach. There's a lot to do. I'll go over some of the events that they do here. I'll go over some of the events they do here, but I know you guys are thinking about what it's like living here, and we're going to go into a little bit more of that right now. So one of the cons when it comes to living in Wellington, Florida, is the price of homeowners insurance. So today here in Florida, not just in Wellington, but all of Florida, homeowners insurance is a bit of an issue. We're in the process of getting better. The government, the governor, they've been taking steps to make it better, and it's been working. But because it's been bad for so long and it took a long time to get there, it's taken a long time to get out of it. A lot of the homes in Wellington today are pre-existing homes. In general, homeowners insurance for pre-existing homes is on the high side. So if you have a home that's even, when I say older homes, I'm talking even 15, 20 years ago. A lot of Wellington was built around 2000 to 2005, 2010, in that time frame. There's a ton of new communities. All those new communities that we're going to talk about later are down that way. So if you have an older home, when I say 10 years or more, it is a little bit difficult to get homeowners insurance. Here, living in Palm Beach, Florida, we help people. I have a great independent of us, a great agent that we network with that is super good when it comes to insurance, and he gives us insight as to what the current market is. But in any event, if you're looking at older homes, it's going to cost you probably 3 times what it would on existing. And I know my point I was going to make is that here at Living in Palm Beach, Florida, we do a lot of new construction. If you want the solution to homeowners insurance, the solution is new construction homes. So we talked about Arden and Westlake down there. Those are new construction communities. Your insurance would be literally a third of what they would be if you were to live right here in Wellington. We do a lot of business down there, and one of the reasons why people do look there, first off, everyone likes new, and the price of homeowners insurance is a lot less. So, and one of the cons, just to recap, one of the cons when it comes to living in Wellington, Florida, is the cost of homeowners insurance. So, one of the pros when it comes to living in Wellington, Florida, is the horses. I'm going to go through that again. The equestrian, I didn't mention as a pro, but it really is. It brings a lot of attention to the neighborhood. Look at, you can see on the sign here, you see it's got that little horse above it in the Wellington sign. It brings a lot of attention, and it brings a lot of traffic. It brings a lot of commerce. Right down the street there, literally like half a mile there, there's a community called the Palm Beach Polo Club. We've helped people in that community. It's very, very much centers around the people in the polo industry. There's a circuit of people that go from town to town around the world. These equestrians, they'll go from Argentina to the Hamptons. In the wintertime, they come here to Wellington, Florida, and that's like one of the type of places that they look at. We are a new home co-broker, so we know all the new construction options. Our business, my relationship with all the builders, our relationship with all the builders is quite strong. We know what's going on between each community, but that community is centered around that. And in general, a lot of people come here for that season. So if you're looking to buy something and then maybe rent it out, you can literally get a rent 3 times as high in the winter time than you do in the summertime. Having said that, one of the cons about that is if you're looking to rent here, like January to April, it's going to be tough. You can expect to pay, literally, no kidding, prices of upwards of $20,000 a month. It's not quite like the Hamptons, but it is pretty high because this is, after all, one of the destinations when it comes to the polo crowd living here in Wellington, Florida. All right, a little bit about me. I moved 18 years ago down here from the New York City area. I lived everywhere up in New York, so I can talk to you about all kinds of places up there, from the Bronx to Manhattan to Long Island, and you name it. But we moved down here 18 years ago. We searched the entire state of Florida as to where to look. We were this close in thinking that we were going to look at Boca Raton, Florida, which is in the southern part of Palm Beach County. And we found that, in our opinion, we found the houses to be more money down there per square foot, price per square foot. It's a lot more crowded down there. It's got a different vibe down there. It's busier. And we says, maybe this isn't for us. We drove a little bit north to central, here we are in central, Palm Beach County in Wellington. This is where we decided to ultimately reside. We looked in Vero Beach, we looked in Orlando, we looked in Tampa, we looked all over the state. I highly recommend looking a lot of places before you decide on stuff. I like to do videos like this to give you a little insight as to places I think you should consider. And I like to say that for us, Wellington was right. And if I were you, I would look to review the state before making any decisions, because after all, you do not want to make a mistake when moving to Florida. So let's have a look as to where exactly Wellington is on a map.
So here is an entire map of Florida. If you go all the way to the southeast, just west of the biggest city in Palm Beach, which is West Palm Beach, you will find Wellington right there. So one of the number one questions we get is how far are you from the beach? And it's from there to there. That's about a half hour. So as we zoom in to the Palm Beach area, this is pretty much Palm Beach as a whole. From Jupiter up here to Boca Raton down there, you can see right here living in Palm Beach is prevalently right in the middle of it all. And that's where we find the office of Wellington of our office in Wellington. So let me highlight a few of the things we're going to talk about here today. So Wellington is right about here. I'm looking at Flanagan's. Here's the mall. To get from to the Turnpike, this is the number one way to go north and south. It's off this Lake Worth corridor. That's how you get, and this is the Lake Worth Road. This is the 441 corridor that's on the eastern part of all the communities. We're going to talk a little bit about a lot of them are right here. Here's Versailles. There's going to be Olympia is going to be right here. Olympia is a super big community in here in Wellington. It's the biggest. There's right over here to the west, you have Oakmont, you have Village Park. We're going to look at that later. But one of the highlights is when we're looking here is the Wellington Green Mall. So we're talking a little bit today about K Park at some point here in this video. This is K Park right in here. It's the biggest untouched piece of land in Wellington. And you can see, I'm going to zoom out a little bit. I'm not going to go too much into the map, but this will give you a little bit. A lot of Wellington is right here in the middle. As you go further west, you can literally see people here with horses in their backyard. Big equestrian community. The western part is a lot different. Is a lot more different than the eastern part. The eastern part is what a lot of people know today. This is where everything is built in the last 20 years. All the shopping is on here. This is the mall. This circular thing here is the mall. Once they open K Park, there's going to be a bunch of new stores here, bunch of new stores there, and everything north as you go up into Royal Palm Beach. All this is, and they're building more things here, more shopping and stuff there. As you go further north, it's all shopping. So when it comes to shopping, there's no shortage of what there is to do in Wellington. So as you go Forest Hill Boulevard, which is one of the main streets through Wellington, this is something new. They're building a bunch of a park. There's an amphitheater right here. There's the community centers in this area. Lake Wellington, this is the biggest lake in Wellington. A lot of nice houses off the lake. You can get a really good deal on some of these houses, and you can literally park your boat in your backyard and go into the lake. So Wellington is like I said all the time, Wellington is like one big suburb.
So I'm now in a place called Village Park. I've heard people call it Pearson Park. They have a lot of stuff like that softball sign I just showed you. They have all kinds of sports here. Basketball. They have a taekwondo, and either like the junior, like little leagues and all that. A lot of them are formed out of that building behind me. My kids used to play soccer. They have soccer fields back here as well. One of the pros when it comes to living in Wellington, Florida, is for the kids. There's just a ton to do. When I was growing up, there was basically basketball, baseball, and football, and that's it. Here you got everything. This is not the only park in Wellington. There's Okeechobee Park. They have water skiing in there. They have organized leagues for anything you can imagine. They have golf in there. If you want to take golf lessons, you could take golf lessons back here. They got a nice golf course back there as well. So there's a lot of nice parks here. They also have somewhere is it this way, down this way, they have like a walk where you can go like sort of like into the Everglades and check out nature. Years ago, my boys were in Boy Scouts, and they took us through all these little neat things. There's so much here that you don't know unless you have kids, I guess. But there's a lot to do here. So one of the things I want to talk about also is the weather and what there is to do in that regard. So here's one of the pros when it comes to living in Wellington, Florida. The weather here is just so nice. I'm here in December. I'm looking to take this jacket off. The winters here are like today. It's begins low 50 and goes up to about 70, 75 degrees. We're about 72 here now. That's a typical winter day. No humidity whatsoever. It's why we get a lot of snowbirds. More on that later. We get a lot of people that come down here for the, to live here just for the season. If you're looking to buy a place down here and you want a snowbird, you got to be careful about the regulations. The homeowners association I talked about there. There's the important regulation you need to know about when it comes to that. So reach out if you want to discuss that further, and I'll tell you about it in a minute. But continuing here in the January and February, when most of you guys up north are shoveling snow, we are playing baseball. We are playing soccer. We are going water skiing. It's South Florida here is the boating capital and the water sport capital really of the world. You can go surfing. The fishing. I was looking for. It's the fishing capital of the world. We are 4.5 hours from the Florida Keys if you want to drive to Key West. Less than that if you want to go to Key Largo or Marathon. So we are so well positioned. The other thing is too, again, another one, great place for kids, right? Another one, if you have kids, and even if you're like an older kid like me, you want to go to Disney, it's a 2.5 hour ride. You might as well make it sort of like a weekend trip. It's easy to do that. We at Disney Passes, they give you discounts if you're Florida residents, and we would go there on Friday night, spend the day at the park Saturday and Sunday, and come back. It is the best. These are vacations that people fly from all over the world to get to. You can literally drive and make it a weekend trip. So there's just a lot to do when it comes, and that's one of the pros when it comes to living here in Wellington, Florida. So continuing on the theme of sports and whatnot, we are also in the middle of spring training. We get a lot of people that come here for baseball spring training in the month of March. March, by the way, weather-wise, is the best month in the world when it comes to living here in Wellington, Florida. It's the humidity. It's starting to warm up. There's no humidity. It doesn't get too hot. It is the best, and we get a lot of people come down here to vacation, and they travel from spring training to spring training. Jupiter, Florida, just a little bit north, is the home of the St. Louis Cardinals and the Washington Nationals. You have West Palm Beach Park, which is that's the Washington Nationals, the Astros. The Marlins and the Cardinals are in Jupiter, and the Mets, my favorite team, are way up in Port St. Lucie, about an hour north of here. So anyways, we are literally the spring training home and the sport capital here in all of the United States. All right, now I'm at the Wellington Community Center. This is a place that literally just reopened not even a year ago, after several years of construction. They have a big community pool back there that they redid. They have the community center offices that way. But the biggest thing here is this area here is they have like an amphitheater here. They do concerts here. So there's a lot of events here in Wellington. That's one of the other things. The bigger events are in downtown West Palm Beach. I'll talk about that in a minute, right after this. But the Wellington, every Thursday, they line up cars in there, or trucks in there, say food trucks, and they do a food truck invasion, which is very well attended. They have concerts here in this amphitheater often, like every week, like Thursday and Friday, or Friday and Saturday, and they'll do a lot of tribute bands. I see that, like the Police and the REO Speedwagon, Styx, and all kinds, Led Zeppelin. They do all kinds of older band tributes. They do those here. So this is a really good place for events. They are actually tomorrow, they're doing the Wellington Winterfest, which is it's always headlined by none only than Vanilla Ice Baby. He's like they're one of their presenters, and he does a lot to help promote the Wellington Chamber of Commerce puts it on. But they do a lot of events here. If you go to downtown West Palm Beach, let's go to there now. If you go to downtown West Palm Beach, they have the green market on Saturday mornings from 9 to 1. Parking is free in downtown, and it's 120 vendors. It's the biggest green market in the entire state of Florida. It's gigantic. It's huge. I go there. I love to go there. When it doesn't conflict with me playing softball, I go there. They'll close the street down. They have street vendors. They have next to there's City Place, or they call it City Place. It's been called Rosemary Square and the Square 2 separate times, but now it's back to the original name of City Place. And they do all kinds of events there. They're in the process right now of setting up for the snowfall. Every December, they do, it snows in downtown West Palm Beach. They do artificial snow that comes down from in City Place, and they have the wishing tree. I will honestly say, I say this in all my soul sincerity, this is the best place to be in the month of December in the whole country. So one of the cons when it comes to living here in Wellington, Florida, is the traffic. I don't know how much my editor is going to be able to get some of that traffic. We definitely have a decent amount of traffic going through here right now. This is one of the major roads through Wellington. It's called Forest Hill Boulevard. In the wintertime, and especially not here near the mall, which is right behind me there, the traffic here is ridiculous. I live off one of those communities, off Route 441, those newer Wellington communities. Traffic in December, pulling out onto the highway, onto State Road 7, is crazy. They do address it. The village, the government offices are down there. We're going to look at that a little bit later. They're down there, and they're really good at making these adjustments. But because the growth is just so enormous when it comes to what's going on here in Wellington, Florida, the traffic is a problem. So one of the cons when it comes to living in Wellington, Florida, is the traffic. There's a big difference between the northern part and the southern part of Palm Beach County. The Boca Raton, Delray area is very different than the northern part, which is like Jupiter and Palm Beach Gardens. Wellington is right in the middle. It's in the western communities. Like I say, you don't want to make a mistake. I run into people afterwards, not people that we've helped, people that others have helped or didn't ask for help, and they made a mistake. You do not want to have to sell your house after a year, because likely, in order to get your closing costs back and all that, it's hard to even break even at that point after such a short period of time. This is the strongest housing market there is, but in short periods of times, it is a risk. Reach out to our team if you want to know what's involved when it comes to moving here to Florida. I'm here at the government offices here at Wellington, Florida. Just came from the community center. They're literally right next to each other. This is again, similar. It's like in the center here of Wellington. And I'm going to walk over to what I call the 9/11 tribute. All right, so I'm here at the Patriot Memorial. It's called the Patriot Memorial. It's a 9/11 tribute. This structure was built obviously after September 11th, 2001. It was built approximately 10 years after. They just did a 20-year remembrance. This place was mobbed. Every year I like to bring my kids here on September 11th. Every year, if you come here around September 11th, you'll see people here praying. Remembering the people that we've lost. I mean, we have a lot of people here that have moved here from the New York City area. A very big population from the Northeast. So this place really strikes a heart with many who live here in Wellington, Florida today. They literally have on the walls here the names of every person who perished on these mirrors on that tragic day of September 11, 2001. And also here, before I change this to topic, if you're in this area in September, you really want to check this area out. Here's a piece of the an actual piece of the World Trade Center that they brought here and restored it here from the actual towers. So I see in the sign in the back there in front of the government building that they have all the, they're mentioning all the events, and they have many. I want to go over some of the communities. I'm going to do a little bit more of that in a while, but let me at least start. I talked about if you're moving down here, and you want to set up a search on which houses to look at and reach out to our team, I can set you up on searches. I don't even have to be there with you if you wanted to go. I have a new way of showing homes where I have a team of agents that help us show homes on our behalf. That's one of the things that we're doing new this coming year. And so we're making it really easy, because I know that if someone says, hey, listen, I want to see a house on Saturday, people hate to hear no. If you want to do it Saturday, we figure out a way to do it. So that's one of the things we do. Wellington today is primarily existing homes. I just saw one today in coming up that they're going to be high-end $1.5 million homes in a brand new community in Wellington next year. As I get more information, I will pass that along. There's another one called the Hendricks Reserve that is on the borderline of Lakewood and Wellington. That's going to be like real soon. So I know all the new, again, I'm a new home co-broker. I know all the new construction areas here. The builders know me, and I get the first call on all this stuff. I know where all the incentives are too. So if any particular, like right now, I can tell you where the best incentives are up in Avenir. There's one particular company in Avenir that is particularly high. But anyways, most of the newer communities in Wellington are on 441 State Road 7, and they were built around the year 2000 to 2005. I'm gonna take you to one of them to see my favorite. I think it provides the most value here in Wellington, but there's a couple of others that are pretty good too, that are very close to that one, and definitely close to everything in the middle, like the Wellington Green Mall and everything that Wellington, in fact, where we're at right now as well, and everything that Wellington has to offer. There's a community called Oakmont, which is near K Park. I think I mentioned it briefly when we were by K Park. That was a weird one. When they first opened that up, going back about 15 years ago, if not more now, 50F, about 15 years ago, they planted landscape and everything was dying, believe it or not. What they found is that was built on a firing range, like boom, boom, like for target practice and what like that. And there was a lot of metal in the ground. And at first the landscape was not taking for that reason. Well, that's fixed. That's actually a very nice community because it's near and the location is perfect. It's a smaller community compared to some of the others I'll mention, but it's one I would definitely look at. The other one I often tell people to look at, if you're a little bit older especially, is Castellina, which is across the street. And Castellina, in terms of location, is probably one of the top communities in all of Wellington. The funny story about Castellina is that they opened and they closed. Whoever the builder was originally, they wanted to make a 55+ community. They built the guardhouse and then they ran out of funds. This is going back in the Great Recession, 2006, 7, 8, 9, those years. And there stood this one guardhouse all on its own, and that's all they built. They stopped building it. It was a little bit sad, to be honest with you. Years later, someone came in, with deeper pockets and took it over, and they built Castellina. Now, because it had that footprint of a 55+ community, it's an all-age community today, but because it had that footprint, today it leans a little bit older, and there's a lot of ranches in there, smaller homes, because in general, when you're buying a 55+ community, they're making the assumption that you're an empty nester and you really want a smaller home. So that's one of the factors there. But to me, it's shocking how well that community has held its value. I think one of the reasons is because, as you know, in real estate, it's all about location, location, location. One of the reasons is the location of Castellina is exquisite. Back in the western part of the community of the Wellington is the Aero Club. It has been around for a while, more than 20 years. It is not, so it's not new, but it's unique that it's called the Aero Club because people literally have runways in their backyard. It's so far west and a little bit more on the rural side of Wellington that you could do, you can put a runway in your backyard. You can put a helicopter and all that. So a lot of people with small airplanes live out that area. It's a little bit far removed from a lot of the other stuff, but if you're looking for privacy, a lot of people are, that's a good place to look. And listen, if you go into these new construction communities on your own, like you just walk into the sales center, you're absolutely crazy. I highly represent independent representation. Don't do it, please. Call us and I'll let you know why. I'm not going to elaborate on it now, but here's a couple of good new construction communities nearby. Westlake I mentioned, Arden I mentioned. The most popular is up that way in Palm Beach Gardens, Avenir. We have done business in every community in Avenir. No one knows Avenir better than we do it living in Palm Beach, Florida. It is the hottest community in Palm Beach. Love to tell you the story. Each sub-community of Avenir from time to time have incentives. If you want to know where the incentives are today, you need to reach out. All right, enough on the communities now. I'm gonna go in a little bit to, I think, one of the best values in Wellington in terms of community. I'm gonna tell you a little bit more about that while I'm there. But let's go over some of the economics here. Downtown West Palm Beach is growing like wildfire. Like they call it the new Wall Street, South. Harry's, the bar Harry's, the restaurant bar Harry's on Wall Street. They built one there now in downtown West Palm Beach. They have a lot of banking going there. Goldman Sachs has moved there. A lot of investment banks have moved there. So it's literally is the hub for that. So there's a lot of economic growth when it comes to this whole area, especially in downtown West Palm Beach. The other thing that all over Palm Beach, it's a big on medical. So down here is the Wellington Regional Hospital. They opened an emergency room and soon to be a new hospital up in Westlake. They have a Palms West in nearby Loxahatchee is another big hospital. Pretty much everywhere you turn here, they have some kind of medical park. So if you're in the medical field, there's a lot of job opportunity here. And that's one of the big industries when it comes to living in Wellington, Florida. So Wellington is like a big suburb. When I moved here from Long Island, I lived in Westchester as well. This reminds me of that. It's close to a big city. We have Miami like 65 miles south of us. On a Saturday morning, it's an hour ride. So you're close enough to that stuff, but also far enough from the craziness that I think this is a brilliant, big suburb. All right, this is something I know you guys are thinking about. Schools. One of the cons when it comes to moving to Wellington, Florida is the schools. Wrong. Literally, one of the pros when it comes to moving to Wellington, Florida is in fact the schools. It is when people look in Palm Beach County and they want schools, they all say, I heard about this place, Wellington, Ray. Tell me about it. Wellington has a lot of A-rated schools. I have 3 children. My children have gone through all the different levels of school. My oldest son is in law school now. My other son is in University of Florida. There's great universities in the state of Florida. University of Florida is extremely hard to get in. It is like one of the top 3 public universities in the state. They've got an acceptance rate like of 8%. It's ridiculously low. With all the people moving here, it's just even harder to get into. But in Wellington, you've got some schools like Panther Run, Polo Park, and those are all public schools. So a lot of people come here for the high quality of public schools here in Wellington. But there's also charter schools and magnet schools. Like my kids rarely went to these public schools because they have such great magnet schools and charter schools. I have a couple in mind that I don't want to just mention here. Reach out to our team. If you want some guidance when it comes to schools in Wellington, reach out to Living in Palm Beach, Florida. The growth here in Palm Beach is tremendous. West Palm Beach is growing like wildfire. Wellington is growing like wildfire. Once they build K Park, there's going to be no more real commercial property to be built here. This story still goes on. If you want and to enjoy things to do, the polo season, you can watch polo matches in January, February, March, April. So a lot of people do. There's just a ton to do here, and all of this area is growing fast. And prices of homes, I know this is something you guys want to know about. Prices of homes have maintained and held their value more here than any place in the country. We see a lot of people coming here from all across the United States, all across the world. I speak to people. You really owe it to yourself to book that Zoom call I was talking about earlier if you're interested in considering this area. I mean, I'll just give you some insight, but people from all over the world are coming here. People even from South Florida now, from Miami and Broward County, Fort Lauderdale, the Keys, they're moving up here because Wellington, Florida and Palm Beach, Florida is one of the most attractive places to live today. The culture here is incredible. So since 2020, since the COVID, we had a lot of people move here because now people can have remote jobs, right? So that's one of the reasons why we have this growth. Because if you can live anywhere in the world, why not live in a place where you can be outside in January? And the weather here is brilliant all year long. The weather here is better, in my opinion, than anywhere else. Not going to elaborate more than that. I've talked about the weather on this channel before. But the culture, continuing with that, everywhere you see an American flag everywhere. You have this is the Patriot Memorial. You have the Veterans Memorial, which I've shown in one of my videos in the past. I've showed it in the past. It's a whole bunch of statues and monuments and flags all across the whole structure of and talking about and saluting the people who have served in wars past. They have statues representing every single war, going back to the Civil War, everything in between up until what they call the last statue is the war on terrorism. But Wellington's a very patriotic place. If you go into the Wellington Green Mall, like right in that center where Santa Claus was, you have this big American flag that hangs down. So I like that. I like the fact that this place, Wellington, Florida, is one of the most patriotic places I know of in whole of the world and all of the United States and all of the world. So speaking of communities here in Wellington, I would definitely consider. I love some of these gated communities. I'm in front of my favorite one. Before I talk about it, I'm going to tell you about the one down there. That's the biggest community here in Wellington. It's called Olympia. Olympia is about 1,700 homes. It was built back in that time I was telling you about, from like 2000 to 2005-ish. They have several different sections. It took a while to build. The builder there is Minto, the same people that are building out in Westlake right now, the main builder out that way. So they have, what I found is that when they first started that community at Olympia, they started with more moderate size, more moderate priced homes. As they got towards the end of the project there, they started building bigger homes and more expensive homes. Today, you can buy an over $1 million house in there. There are houses in there that go up to about $1.5 million. You can also get a much more moderately priced home in there. So they literally have everything in there. Each sub-community within Olympia has its own personality. The community is so big, it has its own school. It's got the Equestrian Trails Elementary. It has their own middle school right along here, along State Road 7, this is the 441 corridor I was telling you about. That is where the Western communities all come through. But that is definitely one of the communities, if it's in your budget, let's call it somewhere between $5, $6, up to $1.5 million, that's a community I would definitely check out. But you got to be careful, because why I say that is because some of the homes there, because it's been around about, almost 20 years now, some of them have not been kept up all that well. So So you have to be careful. You got to be very careful about going in there. Always get a home inspector. Use our guidance as to what to look for. Anyways, this is where I am now, one of my favorite communities in all of Wellington. This community is called Versailles of Wellington. So this community is 450 homes. You can't really find a place in here less than 800,000. If you find a place for 800,000, I've seen them go recently at that price, you are extremely lucky, or they need major renovations. Generally speaking, the homes here are about $1 million, going up to about $2 million. This community also has been around since the beginning of the century, starting like 2003, 4, 5. They started building this community. It's a smaller community, so it's sold out a little bit faster. You know, if you want to be close to the equestrian, but not really part of the equestrian community, easy access to the mall. The mall is like not even a mile up that way. Easy access to the Florida Turnpike, which is Lake Worth Road is right there. It's really easy to get to the Florida Turnpike. So there's a reason why homes hold their value here in Versailles. It's in a great location. The homes here are really well built, and you can't beat that. The entrance is one of the nicest entrances in all of Wellington. I remember they told me when I looked at this community way back when that they spent $5 million on this entrance, and I believe it. So we do a ton of new construction here in the Palm Beach. We actually do a lot of new construction going all the way up to Port St. Lucie. Port St. Lucie to Miami. We are the people for new construction, trust me. We are a new home co-broker, and I am part of EXP Luxury Homes. So reason I say that, I want to bring that up, is size of houses. Lots of times, if you go to even Westlake, you can only get a home a certain size. It is hard, unless you go to a couple of other areas I know about up in Avenir. It's hard to get a home that is more than 3,000, 3,500 square feet. But here, you can. If you want that bigger home in an existing home, they have homes here going up to 6,500 square feet under air. If you're looking for a bigger home, you want quality build in a great location, Versailles of Wellington is one of the best communities, I think, in all of Wellington, Florida. One of the cons when it comes to living in Wellington, Florida is you're not that close to the beaches. Well, not that close is all relative. We are about a half hour from the beaches by car. Lake Worth Beach is the closest one. You also have Delray Beach to the south. You have Juneau Beach to the north. I mean, I don't know where you guys live now, but to me, a half hour wasn't that big of a deal. Especially when you have this as your community your community pool. One of the benefits of being in an HOA in Wellington, or anywhere for that matter in South Florida, you get access to clubhouse amenities such as this. They're going to be doing a Christmas party here. It's a great way to meet your neighbors. It truly is. So it's one of the benefits and one of the pros when it comes to living in a gated community in Wellington, Florida, is you get to live in paradise 7 days a week. Wellington, Palm Beach, paradise here in South Florida.